everyone, it's Kitty Crystal here from Lakeview Aquatic Consultants. So in this video, I'm going to be following up on my National Lifeguard Research video and talking further about the object recovery, aka the brick. I got a lot of great feedback about the video, so thank you to those of you who watched it and found it beneficial. I did get some questions about the brick, and so I thought I would expand on it further because this, in my experience as a National Lifeguard Instructor and National Lifeguard Instructor Trainer, is one of the most stressful physical fitness standards for National Lifeguard candidates. I want to start out by saying that these are only my opinions as a Life Saving Society National Lifeguard Instructor and Trainer. They are not endorsed by the Life Saving Society of Alberta and the Northwest Territories. These are my experience having taught NL, original courses, recertifications for over 10 years here in Alberta at a large variety of facilities, as well as my firsthand experience as a lifeguard on pool decks who has taken part in over 10 NL research as a candidate both in Alberta and Ontario. So the genesis for that other video about the National Lifeguard recertification was based on my own research that was coming up in September of 2024. And I have talked about on this channel how I'm going to start phasing out aquatic leadership over the next couple of years. It's been a while since I've had a home facility, and I'm very happy to travel around and be a casual or contract instructor at different facilities, filling in for courses. But I am reaching a point where I'm not sure that I'm the most relevant person to be teaching some of these courses. Having not been on the deck recently, I do know when it's time to step back and do other things. So with that in mind, I have been downloading some of my knowledge and some of my experience in these videos. So I just want to share strategies for how I teach the brick in class, how I practice the brick myself as a National Lifeguard, and then answer a question that I got on the other video about evaluation criteria using the award guide. I want to start off by saying that the brick, the object recovery, which is item 6B in the National Lifeguard program here in Canada, that is an established item. So you should be following your National Lifeguard lesson plans if you are in a province that has formal lesson plans, both short-term and long-term lesson plans. And if you are in a province that does not have those lesson plans, you are required to be at least using your award guide. I have mine here. This is the Alberta and the Northwest Territories edition, and it has been updated in the last few years. There were some national program changes that took place recently. They did not impact the brick specifically, but it is important to know that everything I'm saying in this video is based on third-party criteria. It is not based on what Katie wants. It is based on objective criteria, which should be the basis of all of our evaluation when it comes to the brick. I want to read the performance criteria before we talk about how I teach or introduce the skill. The brick's purpose is to ensure lifeguards have the necessary skills and fitness to recover a submerged victim. This is done by retrieving a 9-kilo or 20-pound brick and carrying it 5 meters within a required time of 40 seconds. The must-sees include an in-water start, a 15-meter approach into a surface dive, the object, which is a standardized rubber brick recovered from depth, head above the surface during the 5-meter carry, and the time limit of 40 seconds does need to be met. From the notes, which are on the side, so we have the must-sees here, we have the purpose here, we have the item number, the description, and then the notes are critical. Those of you instructor trainers know the notes in the award guide help us to flesh out some areas of confusion or uncertainty, or perhaps differences we see between one candidate and the next. Notes that are critical in how we teach and evaluate the brick. Pool depths can vary widely. Place the object at the deepest part of pools that are less than 3 meters. In pools that are greater than 3 meters, we must place the object at 3 meters, and this item may not be performed in pools shallower than 1.5 meters, which is usually your shallow end of a lot of community pools. For the approach to retrieve the brick, the candidate may swim head up or head down, And candidates may descend and ascend at an angle. But if they do that, it's important to make sure that you still have that 5 meters of distance to measure the carry. I have found in my direct experience, if they descend and ascend on an angle, we may have to send them back into the middle of the pool to achieve that 5 meter carry because they may be too close now to the end of the pool. The 5 meter carry distance is measured from the point at which the candidate surfaces with the object. So they do need to perform 5 meters of a carry. That could also be width-wise, however you need them to go to safely accomplish that carry within the 40 seconds. While egg beater is encouraged, any leg action or combination of life-saving kick is acceptable. So recall that your life-saving kicks include your egg beater, your scissor kick, and your whip kick. I have seen candidates over the years, very strong competitive swimmer athletes, do a flutter kick. I've seen sort of froggy kick. As long as it meets the purpose, any safe method of carry that allows the candidate to complete the distance and must-sees is acceptable. So when we're talking about the brick, I've seen candidates who hold it in front of their face. I've seen candidates put it on their shoulder. I've seen candidates hold it to their chest. I had one candidate once, she held it like a purse. Some candidates will put it lower down to their tummy. They'll put it on the side, kind of like a waiter. Any method is acceptable. Some bricks you will have seen are a little bit longer with a tapered middle for smaller hands. Some bricks are squat and very cubic and harder to hold. I have pretty small hands. And then some bricks may have a strap, kind of like a yoga mat strap. That is the one where I had the candidate hold it like a purse. She was gripping the strap. She also had really long nails that she didn't want to break. It was suspended in air. Any carry is suitable in order to meet the purpose, which is to get that object and carry it for 5 meters. There's 3 other notes here. One of those notes is that the head is above the surface, means candidate can breathe easily with jawline at or above the surface. I'm going to put a pin in that one, and we're going to come back to it here in a moment in relation to the question that I got. Candidate is not required to place the object on the pool edge. So this is one of those urban legends that certainly older instructors who are not as precise and meticulous about using the award guide performance criteria. I have certainly heard over the years people telling me stories where their instructor, their trainer insisted that they put the brick on the pool edge, but that's absolutely not a requirement. In some pools with a very high lip, that could be a serious safety hazard and should not be required. You as an instructor should be prepared to collect the brick from them in the basin at the pool edge, or you should have a helper, another student in the class who is able to take the brick from them at the pool edge so that they do not have to put it up. The last performance criteria note is that candidates may use goggles or a mask. There's lots of different opinions on this. Certainly, I would encourage candidates to eventually be able to do this skill without a mask or goggles. Unless you're talking about contact lenses, most of us do not lifeguard with goggles. We're not prepared to go into the water only with goggles. And so mastery of this skill down the line, once basic competency has been achieved, is very important in my opinion. And so even as somebody who does wear contact lenses occasionally in the pool, I mean, if you're doing it for a short period of time, they don't fall out right away in my experience. There are strategies that I would encourage candidates to practice if they have visual acuity issues that require contact lenses, or to consider purchasing prescription goggles that they store in their lifeguard bunk. So I want to show a video I recorded of me doing the brick when I was in Drumheller back in September for my recertification. You'll notice in this first video that I'm starting with a 15-meter approach. This is a 25-meter pool. I'm not starting at the bulkhead. The total distance is 20 meters, 15-meter approach and 5-meter carry. I started at 5 meters away from the wall. I swim. I go down with my surface dive. I collect the brick. I come up to the surface, and my personal preference is to carry the brick in my dominant hand. I'm right-handed, an egg beater with a paddling motion in my left hand to stabilize my approach to the side. Now I'm going at a very slow pace, so you can clearly see my technique with my flexed feet and my egg beater. Some people may have to move a bit faster, and then I did end up putting it on the wall because I am comfortable with this skill. Let's look at this close-up. I'm doing my surface dive, and I want to highlight the importance of putting your feet down on the bottom to get a solid push up. This is where a lot of candidates struggle in my experience. They don't get their airway out right away, then they panic. And then I follow the same technique of egg beatering to the side wall and then pushing the brick onto the edge. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video was to talk a little bit more about the struggles that some candidates have, even in a recertification. In this recertification, some of the other candidates in my class where I was a participant doing my NL research, I was not the instructor or the examiner, they articulated concern about being successful with the brick because they took their National Lifeguard Original during the pandemic. They expressed that due to social distancing, limitations on the way their course was conducted, and also the way they have worked over the last couple of years in aquatics in a very different COVID environment, they had not had the opportunity to practice the brick as much as they might in a, quote, normal year where there is different opportunities for staff to practice their skills during routine in-service or assigned physical fitness items due on certain shifts. We did break the candidates up into several groups, and I helped out as an instructor to practice skills to get them ready to do the brick. So the instructor of the recertification took some candidates to one side, I took some candidates to another side. And one of the big activities I really like to practice is kind of like a squat with the brick in the shallow end. The brick is not about physical fitness. It is primarily about technique. I said in my NL research video, I'm approaching 38. I'm not in the best shape because I'm mostly working from a desk these days, not around an aquatic facility. The brick is very easy for me to do because I don't necessarily have the upper body strength to be bench pressing 20-pound barbells, but the brick is about how I position my body to support the weight. So for example, holding the brick far away from you is going to make it much more challenging than holding it close to your center of mass. For me, that is holding it like a tray or grabbing it to the side of my body. So then my legs are free to kick, and then my left arm is free to paddle and support my upper body. I have a water polo background as well as synchronized swimming. So for me, egg beater and very much where my upper body is vertical makes it much easier for me to transport the brick. One of the techniques I teach in my National Lifeguard Original courses, as well as helping new instructors understand the complexities of breaking down the brick skill into progressions that we need in our classes, is spending some time in the shallow end with the candidates practicing just picking up the brick, bringing it to their chest, and doing a deep squat before pressing up to the surface. One of the key things I see candidates struggle with is getting that head up to the surface, getting a big breathful of air, and then being able to progress that 5 meters swim with the brick in their possession. If you don't get a solid breath of air, you will panic, your heart rate will be elevated, and it will be a struggle to make it 5 meters to the wall unless you have significant cardiovascular capacity. One of the progressions that I really spend some time on is surface diving down, grab the brick, sink your feet down, press up with the brick to your chest, get a big breath of air, reassess, and then start whatever you're doing, swimming, egg beatering to get the brick to the side. And surface dive down, collect the brick, push up, get a breath of air, then swim to the side is a really key component. I also tell people that they have plenty of time once they collect the brick from the bottom of the pool. The swim, the approach is maybe 10 to 12 seconds, and then on average 20 to 25 seconds until the time limit to get that brick to the surface, to swim to the wall. Initially with candidates, they are very rushed and their technique is sloppy in my experience. I would like to see a candidate whose head is out and very comfortable breathing to be able to carry the brick to the wall. And that is going to bring me to a question I got on the National Lifeguard Research video. It also comes up often when I do mentorships or co-teaches with regards to the criteria I read earlier. Head above surface means candidate can breathe easily with jawline at or above the surface. So I'm going to start by explaining my interpretation and then go to the question. So the way I interpret that is limited to saying you cannot have your head entirely horizontal and only your lips drinking through a straw. That is something I have seen over the years where the candidate does not have the physical strength to do anything other than hold the brick and there's water all around covering their face except for their mouth and nose, and they are breathing almost through a straw through the surface of the water, completely vertical. So that, in my opinion, based on the award guide criteria notes, is not what I want to see. I do want to see some competency in terms of keeping the head above the surface. But until I got this question, I never thought about how much head or what head position that is. I have seen candidates with water up to the mouth, but they're doing just fine, and the back of their hair is in the water. I've seen candidates kind of doing a side glide scissor where there's water up to here, but their mouth is out of the water. I would never expect or require my candidates to be fully perpendicular, fully head out of the water like this. I want to see, though, some competency where it's not that straw I mentioned. So I wouldn't want to see water here. I wouldn't want to see that kind of struggle. But this comment I got is really interesting. Please, can you be specific about the object recovery physical standards? There have been multiple discrepancies about the jawline out of the water. There are some NLI, National Lifeguard Instructors, that allow the jawline out of the water, but the back of the head is in the water as the candidate leans backwards. So for me, if the hair is in the water and the jawline is out and the water level is here, I have no problem with that. There are lots of people that are strong back swimmers, and there's nothing in the notes, in my opinion, that precludes back swimming as long as the water level is, I would say, at the jawline or further down the neck. If they're swimming on their back, I have seen people carry the brick on their back. There's nothing, in my opinion, that excludes that. Speaking to a number of NLTs, National Lifeguard Trainers, and the Life Saving Society branch in their province, which they don't disclose, it said that the head must be above the water surface and not leaning backwards. In my opinion, that is not written into the performance criteria. That is not in the notes. That is not in the award guide. That may be somebody's preference that has evolved from what I said earlier in terms of strength and competency. If it was your first time doing the brick and your head was completely underwater, I would encourage you to work towards getting your head upright. I would challenge you to work on your physical fitness, on your egg beater, and your technique. I don't expect the head to be fully perpendicular, though, within a 40-hour course. After 20 years of me being a lifeguard and improving my technique, yes, my head is perpendicular. But as I mentioned earlier, I have seen many other iterations where there has been side swimming with ears in the water, the back of the hair of the water. Maybe that water is not all the way up to the crown of the head, but some of the hair is in the water. I am not personally in the opinion of policing hair in the water, neck in the water, back of the head in the water. This person goes on to say, I have found this to be not so clear in the award guide, and it was discussed recently. It would be unfair to allow a candidate to pass a course and later upon a wet screen, which is a wet job interview, to find out their attempt was not to the standard, and unknowingly the candidate may not get the job, may not receive feedback, or will have to take another attempt to meet, or we encourage them to exceed the standard. Can you share your experience and your outlook on the item and how it is perceived from your view or other NLIs that you have spoken to or how they may have screened for this item. So I want to start out by saying, again, my personal opinions do not reflect the opinions of the Life Saving Society of Alberta and the Northwest Territory. I would say, in my experience, seeing hundreds of candidates at facilities across Alberta, co-teaching and mentoring dozens of new National Lifeguard instructors as a clinic trainer, as well as on the job through 40-hour courses, I would not get lost in the weeds of head placement. For me, it is the lips for the jawline. So if the jawline is underwater, if the lips are sucking through a straw, that is where I've placed my emphasis. The rest of the head, the rest of the hair, the neck, the shoulders does not concern me. The jawline is in this area. I don't want to see the waterline here and the straw lips. I want to see a little bit lower. And whether that is up to the ceiling, looking ahead, looking to the side, I would not police that. As National Lifeguard instructors, we always have to ask ourselves, does this meet the purpose in terms of what we are seeing? All of our candidates, all of our lifeguards, anatomically, physiologically, strength-wise, are different people. I had never seen somebody carry a brick like a purse, except this one time, this one class with this one candidate in Fort Saskatchewan 10 years ago. I haven't seen it since. I taught another class in Cold Lake, Alberta. It was a military base, and one of the techniques I saw one of the candidates use, he stated, was in relation to wilderness first aid training that he had done as a non-commissioned officer. So lots of people's other life experiences inform their technique. And so I would encourage you to stand your ground. I know that you are looking out for your candidates and preparing them for work at other facilities or recertification or wet screens under other trainers. I fully understand and empathize with your desire to make sure that your candidates are best equipped to succeed under different standards. And I guess I would just say it's really unfortunate if there is those inconsistencies in your Life Saving Society jurisdiction, because the intent of the award guide is to make it clear. And so it's a real pet peeve of mine anywhere in Canada when somebody gets so set in their ways, or for example, when an employer or a specific aquatic facility gets so set on an employment standard or a specific training method or a specific rescue technique. I think personally that takes away from the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that we train our lifeguards to make the best decision with their own knowledge of their own physical fitness and technique in a rescue situation. I would ask, what is the reason that somebody cares so much that the back of the head is in the water or that they're lying down? Is there a specific why? Is that why that you're worried that they're going to run into the wall and get a concussion? Or is that why based on that's not how you do it as an instructor or you do it as a lifeguard? If there's no meaningful purpose or why that they should not do it, then I don't see a reason to assess and say that's wrong. Can a candidate improve the technique and look better at the brick year over year, recert over recert? Absolutely. After they've achieved mastery, I'm always going to tell my candidates, I would like to see you eventually get your ear out of the water and see where you're going. I would eventually like you to switch from a flutter kick to a scissor kick. I think you're going to find it easier. I'm eventually going to encourage you to hold the brick not far away because you're worried about drowning, but closer to your body because the biomechanics of that will make it easier to swim. That's where, in my opinion, some instructors are so focused on perfection, which they haven't even yet taught or trained basic competency in the award items. And I would say early on in my career, I expected excellence from every candidate that I encountered. And it was unreasonable and unrealistic. And I've mellowed in the sense that the performance criteria or the standard is the standard. It's not substandard. It may be not perfect, but we also have to understand that this is a vocation for which candidates are just starting on their career with a 40-hour National Lifeguard course. And so all of that is a long way of saying, can we expect more? Yes. Can we evaluate more? Absolutely not. The award guide does not specify anything about the crown of the head, the hair, the ears, the back of the neck. It says the jawline. The jawline is here. So for me, I want to see the water below the jawline. I want to see the mouth out of the water. whether it's vertical, horizontal, on the side, will hold their neck out of the water. There's such variety that I would encourage you to ask questions of those instructors or trainers who are saying they require something is not shown in the performance criteria. So that is everything I wanted to cover about the object recovery. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. How do you teach the object recovery? What does that look like at your facility? How do you maybe have differentiations at your aquatic facility between your employment standards versus your instructional standards? I want to keep this conversation going. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll catch you in the next video.